Welcome to Revenge Tears. I'm Chelsea Carter, and this is the story of my grandfather's 81st birthday. A birthday with only two people, but one that changed our entire family. In a quiet suburban home outside Minneapolis, while the rest of the family chose a bar party, I was the only one who brought a cake to him. And the next morning, everything shifted. Grandpa Harry sat on his worn recliner, smiling when he saw me, but his hands shook as he tried to cut the first slice. On the side table right next to his coffee sat the bottles of blood pressure and heart medication, a silent reminder he wasn't doing great. No one else came. Not my dad, not my stepmom, Lauren, not my younger brother Tyler, not even Aunt Becky. They were all at the grand opening of Lauren's friend's new bar downtown. When I called to remind them, Lauren answered, laughing in the background with music blasting. "It's just an old man's birthday, and he's not feeling well anyway," she said. "What's the big deal?" "We're busy here." Tyler shouted something about free drinks, and the call ended. I hung up, put the phone away, and sat beside Grandpa Harry. He looked at me with soft eyes. "Thank you for coming, Chelsea. You being here means everything." We lit the candles together and he blew them out with a weak puff. The room was quiet, just the two of us sharing that little cake. He didn't know what Lauren had said, and I didn't tell him. The next day, everything changed. If you've ever felt overlooked by your own family, or been the only one showing up for someone who needed you, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story like this. Thank you for listening. The next day started with my phone buzzing nonstop. Notifications from Instagram and Facebook piled up, each one pulling me back to the night before. I opened them anyway. Dad had posted a group photo from the bar opening him, Lauren, Tyler, and Aunt Becky all smiling under the neon lights, drinks raised. The caption read, "Great night with the family at the new spot, cheers to new beginnings." Lauren reposted it with extra heart emojis and tagged half her friends. "Best girls' night turned family night ever. Living our best lives." Tyler's story was a slow-motion clip of him dancing, captioned "Party mode on." Aunt Becky commented underneath Lauren's post, "Wish I could have stayed longer next time." I stared at the screen until the images blurred. They looked happy, carefree, like the birthday I'd spent alone with Grandpa Harry had never happened. No mention of him. No guilt. Just lights, music, and another perfect evening. I had always known I was the one left out. When I turned 16, Dad promised a family dinner at the steakhouse downtown. That morning, Lauren announced she was taking Tyler to see the new superhero movie instead. "He's been waiting for weeks," she said, as if my birthday didn't count. Dad shrugged and went along with it. I ended up eating takeout pizza alone while Grandpa Harry drove over with a small gift and sat with me until late. Lauren always made sure Tyler got the new sneakers every season, the front seat in the car, the extra allowance. I learned early to stop asking. But seeing those posts the morning after Grandpa's birthday felt different. Sharper. They hadn't just skipped one day, they had chosen a party over him without a second thought. And I was the only one who noticed. I grabbed my keys and drove straight to Grandpa's house. The 20-minute ride through the quiet Minneapolis suburbs felt longer than usual. When I walked in, he was sitting at the kitchen table with a stack of unopened mail. One envelope caught my eye, an overdue notice from the utility company for the electric bill. The red past due stamp stood out. Grandpa's hands trembled slightly as he pushed it aside. "Chelsea, you're here early," he said, smiling weakly. "I thought you had classes." "I skipped. Wanted to check on you." He nodded, not arguing. We sat together while I made tea. He mentioned in passing that the kids were busy with their own lives, work, friends, whatever kept them away. "They've got a lot on their plates," he said quietly. "I understand." I didn't push. Instead, I started coming over more often, 3, sometimes 4 times a week. I cooked simple soups he could eat without much effort, wiped down the counters, helped him walk slowly around the block when the cold wasn't too bad. Each visit, I noticed little things, the way he moved slower, the way he sometimes forgot to take his pills, until I reminded him the way the house felt colder because the heat was turned down to save money. One afternoon, while I was folding laundry in the living room, he watched me for a long moment. "You're the only one who still comes, Chelsea," he said softly. "The only one who makes time." I paused, a towel in my hands. "I'm not going anywhere, Grandpa." He looked down at his lap, then back at me. "I want to do something for you. Something real. Before it's too late." My heart tightened. I set the towel down. "Maybe we should look at your papers. Make sure everything is set up the way you want it." He thought for a second, then nodded. "Yes, let's do that." I pulled out my phone and searched for Michael Hayes, the lawyer Grandpa had used years ago for his will. I called and booked an appointment for the following week. Grandpa watched me the whole time, a small, grateful smile on his face. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I was doing something that mattered, not just showing up, but protecting what was left of the only family that had ever really seen me. A few days later, I arrived at Grandpa Harry's house earlier than usual. While he was resting in his recliner, I quietly opened the old wooden drawer in the hallway cabinet where he kept important papers. It was the same drawer he'd pointed to once when talking about his will years ago. Inside were folders labeled with neat handwriting: Daniel, Business Becky, House Medical. I pulled out the first one. A loan agreement from 8 years ago showed Grandpa lending Dad $50,000 to start a small contracting company. The business folded after 2 years, and the loan was never fully repaid. Another sheet listed payments Grandpa made anyway, month after month. In the Becky folder, I found invoices for roof repairs after a bad storm 6 years back, $28,000 Grandpa covered without hesitation. There were more hospital copays, car repairs, even a down payment on Becky's first home. Each one signed in Grandpa's careful script. I carried the folders to the living room. Grandpa looked up from his book, surprised. "What's all that, Chelsea?" I sat beside him and laid the papers on the coffee table. "These are the things you did for Dad and Aunt Becky. The loans, the repairs, the help. I found them while looking for your current documents." He adjusted his glasses and scanned the top page. "Yes, that's right. I lent your dad the money to get started. Thought it would help him build something solid. And Becky's roof storm took half of it. Couldn't let her live under leaks." He sighed, setting the papers down gently. "I helped because they were my children. That's what parents do. But they don't come around much anymore. Maybe they're embarrassed. Or maybe they just got used to me being there when they needed something." I felt a knot in my stomach. "Grandpa, you gave them so much. And now, the doctor bills are piling up too, aren't they?" He nodded slowly. "The heart medication is expensive. Blood pressure pills too. I've been skipping a few doses to stretch the prescriptions. The doctor says I need to stay on them, but..." He trailed off, looking out the window at the snow-covered yard. Then he turned to me, his voice quieter but steady. "Chelsea, I've watched how they treat you. From the time you were little, Lauren always put Tyler first: new shoes, front seat, extra allowance. Your birthday parties were forgotten while Tyler got everything he wanted. Even when you needed help with college applications, they said you could figure it out yourself. And me, they only call when they need money or favors. They don't ask how I'm feeling. They don't come unless there's something in it for them." His words came faster now, like something he'd held in for years. "I see it all, even if I don't say much. You're the one who's here. You're the one who brings food, who sits and listens, who doesn't complain when I forget things. They've taken, and now they're leaving us both on the outside. I won't let that continue." I swallowed hard. "Grandpa." He held up a hand. "Number. I've decided. I want to make sure what I have left goes to the person who's earned it, the person who's been here when no one else was. That's you, Chelsea. I want to set things up so no one can take it away or fight over it later. His eyes were clear, determined. We need to talk to the lawyer. Make it official. Protected. So it's yours, and only yours. I nodded, surprised at how firm he sounded. We can do that. I'll call Michael Hayes. He's the one you used before. Grandpa agreed right away. Yes. Call him. Let's get it done before they realize what they've lost. The rest of the afternoon passed quietly. I helped him organize the folders, made notes of what we'd need. When I left, he stood at the door longer than usual, watching me drive away. The next week came quickly. I picked Grandpa up in my car and we drove to Michael Hayes's office downtown. The building was plain, professional, dark wood leather chairs, shelves of law books. Michael greeted us warmly. He'd known Grandpa since the early days of his estate planning. We sat in the conference room. Michael spread out the current will and listened as Grandpa explained the changes he wanted. Michael Hayes listened carefully as Grandpa spoke. The conference room was quiet except for the scratch of his pen on the notepad. I want an irrevocable trust, Grandpa said. The house in the suburbs, the cabin by the lake, and the savings account around $200,000. All of it to Chelsea. Protected so no one else can touch it. Michael stopped writing for a second. The house is valued at about $350,000, the cabin around $120,000, savings liquid. Sole beneficiary to Chelsea. No shares for Daniel or Becky. Yes, Grandpa replied. No contingencies, just Chelsea. Michael leaned back. This is permanent. Irrevocable means once funded, it can't be undone easily. Your children would have no legal claim. Are you sure? Grandpa looked straight at him. I've given them everything. Money when they asked, support when they needed it. They took it and walked away. Chelsea is the one who stayed. She's here every week. She's the one who deserves it. Michael nodded slowly. Understood. We'll structure it with safeguards, distributions for education, medical, or housing until she's 35, then full control. No family interference clauses. It can be airtight. We reviewed the details line by line. Michael explained the funding process, transferring deeds and account titles into the trust name. Grandpa signed each page with a steady hand. I signed as witness where required. Michael assured us the final documents would be ready in a few weeks after notarization and recording. As we stood to leave, Grandpa paused. Thank you, Michael. This feels like the right thing. Michael smiled. It's your decision, Mr. Carter. I'll handle the filing promptly. In the car on the way home, Grandpa stared out at the passing houses. I feel lighter, he said quietly. Like I've finally taken care of what matters. I glanced at him. You did. You took care of yourself and me. He reached over and patted my arm. You took care of me first. The next few weeks were calm. I kept coming over every few days. Grandpa talked more about the cabin he hadn't visited in years, the garden he used to tend. The trust documents arrived by mail, thick envelope, official stamps. He reviewed them one evening while I made dinner. He signed the last pages and I drove them back to Michael's office for final filing. Everything was done. The house, the cabin, the savings, all protected in the trust under my name. Grandpa couldn't change his mind even if he wanted to, but he never mentioned regretting it. Then the letters went out. Michael sent formal notifications to Dad and Aunt Becky informing them of the changes to the estate plan. No details, just the fact that they were no longer beneficiaries. A week later, the calls started. Dad first, then Lauren, then Aunt Becky. They didn't ask how Grandpa was doing. They asked why. And then they said they were coming over. I knew what was next. They arrived all at once on a Saturday afternoon, cars pulling up in quick succession outside Grandpa Harry's house. Dad's SUV first, Lauren in the passenger seat, Tyler in the back. Aunt Becky's sedan pulled in right behind them. I watched from the window as they got out, faces set, no smiles. Grandpa was in his recliner when the doorbell rang. I opened the door. They filed in without waiting for an invitation, Dad leading Lauren close behind Tyler, looking uncomfortable. Aunt Becky crossing her arms. Dad spoke first, voice low but sharp. "We got the letter from the lawyer." "What's going on, Dad?" Grandpa didn't move from his chair. He just looked at them, calm. I stood beside him. Lauren stepped forward. "This is ridiculous. You can't just cut us out like this." I answered before Grandpa could. "He didn't cut you out. You cut yourselves out the day you chose a bar opening over his birthday." Dad's jaw tightened. "It was one night. We were busy." "You're making it sound like we abandoned him." "You did abandon him," I said. "That was his 80th birthday. He waited all day. Only I showed up. You were at a party laughing, posting photos. Not one of you called to say happy birthday." Aunt Becky rolled her eyes. "We were going to visit the next week. Things happen. Life is busy." "Busy," I repeated. "That's what you always say." "But you weren't too busy to take his money for years. Dad, you borrowed $50,000 for that startup that failed, and he never asked for it back. Aunt Becky, he paid $28,000 to fix your roof after the storm. Hospital bills, car repairs, he covered it all. And now, you don't even visit when he's weak. When he needs help with his pills, with getting around. You only show up when you get a letter saying you're out of the will." Tyler shifted, looking at the floor. "Sis, you're blowing this out of proportion. Grandpa's fine. We're family. We can work this out." Lauren cut in, voice rising. "You can't expect the whole world to revolve around him. We have jobs, lives, responsibilities. We can't drop everything every time he has a birthday or feels lonely." Dad nodded. "Exactly. We have our own lives. We can't be here all the time. That doesn't mean we don't care." Aunt Becky added. "When he was healthy, we came around more. Now he's weak. It's harder. But that doesn't change anything. He can't punish us for getting older." Grandpa finally spoke, voice quiet but clear. "I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just seeing things clearly. You took what I gave and moved on." Chelsea stayed. She's the one who's been here. Every week. No excuses. No one answered right away. The room filled with heavy silence. I looked at each of them. "You want to talk about family?" Family shows up. Family doesn't make excuses. Family doesn't take and then disappear when it's inconvenient. Grandpa gave you second chances, third chances. And you repaid him by skipping his 80th birthday for drinks and music. That's not family. That's convenience." Dad rubbed his face. "Chelsea, you don't understand how hard it is out there. We're trying." "Trying," I said. "Trying to what?" "To remember him only when you need something, or to pretend you care when the money's gone." Lauren's face flushed. "You're turning this into something it's not. We love him. We just... Life got in the way." "Life didn't get in the way," I said. "You chose to let it. And now you're here because you're losing something. Not because you miss him. Not because you're sorry." Tyler finally spoke, voice low. "You're making this bigger than it is, sis. Grandpa's okay. We can fix this." Grandpa shook his head slowly. "There's nothing to fix. I made my choice. It's done." No one apologized. No one said they were sorry for the birthday. No one promised to visit more. They just stood there, uncomfortable, angry, defensive. Dad looked at Grandpa. "You're really doing this? Cutting us out completely?" Grandpa met his son's eyes. "I'm not cutting you out. You walked out a long time ago. I'm just making it official." Lauren huffed. "This is going to cause problems. You know that." Grandpa didn't flinch. "Problems you created. Not me." They left soon after. No hugs, no goodbyes. Just footsteps on the porch, car doors slamming, engines starting. The house fell quiet again. After that day, the consequences started to show. Dad sold the cabin first. He listed it online within a month, photos showing the lake view he used to brag about. He told Grandpa over the phone it was because of unexpected expenses, but we both knew the truth. Grandpa had been covering the property taxes and maintenance for years, small checks every quarter so Dad wouldn't have to worry. Without that help, the cabin became a burden he couldn't carry. The sale closed quickly. Dad got the money, but he never mentioned visiting Grandpa again. Aunt Becky's situation was worse. Her mortgage payments had been tight for a while. Grandpa used to send extra when she fell behind, calling it just a little help. Now that safety net was gone, the bank sent notices, then a foreclosure warning. She tried to negotiate, but without the inheritance she'd counted on, she lost the house. She moved into a small apartment downtown. I heard about it from a neighbor, not from her. She didn't call Grandpa to explain or apologize. Tyler sent one text a few weeks after the confrontation. "Hey sis, I'll come see Grandpa next weekend. Promise." He didn't show up. Not that weekend, not the next, not ever. His social media stayed full of parties and new sneakers. The promise was empty, just like the rest. Every morning I was there for Grandpa Harry. I arrived early, made coffee the way he liked it, black, no sugar, and handed him his pills with a glass of water. I cooked simple breakfasts, oatmeal with fruit, scrambled eggs when he felt like eating more. We talked about small things, the birds at the feeder, the way the snow melted off the roof, old stories from his work days. He didn't complain much. He just seemed grateful. The house felt warmer with routine. I cleaned the counters, folded. His laundry helped him walk to the porch when the sun came out. He leaned on me more each week, but his eyes were clearer, less worried. He told me once while we sat with tea, "I don't feel alone anymore. That's worth more than the money ever was." I smiled, though my throat tightened. "You're not alone, Grandpa. Not as long as I'm here." He nodded slowly. "I know. And that's enough." His health declined steadily. The doctor visits increased. The heart medication dosage went up. Some days he stayed in bed longer. I adjusted pillows, read the newspaper aloud when his eyes tired, held his hand during quiet afternoons. He never asked about the others. He never brought up the trust or the letters. He just focused on the days we had. A few months later, Grandpa Harry started to fade more noticeably. His breathing grew shallower. The doctor said it was time to prepare. I moved into the guest room so I could be there at night. We kept the curtains open during the day so he could see the yard. He slept more, spoke less, but when he was awake, he looked at me with the same soft eyes from that birthday. One morning, he didn't wake up. The house was still sunlight coming through the window onto his empty recliner. He passed peacefully at home the way he wanted, quiet, surrounded by the person who stayed. The days after Grandpa Harry passed were quiet in a way I hadn't expected. The house didn't feel empty. It felt like it was waiting for me to decide what came next. I arranged everything myself, small service at the local chapel, just a few neighbors who had known him for decades. No big crowd, no speeches, just people who actually showed up. In the weeks that followed, I found the letter tucked inside the envelope with his final instructions. It was handwritten on the same yellow notepad he used for grocery lists. The words were simple, but they hit hard. "Chelsea, you didn't give me money. You gave me time. That's worth more than anything I ever saved. The house, the cabin, the account, they're yours now. Live in them. Use them. Make them yours. Don't let anyone tell you it's wrong to keep what you earned by being there. Love, Grandpa Harry." I read it twice, sitting at the kitchen table where we used to share breakfast. Tears came, but they weren't heavy. They were release. I folded the letter and put it in my pocket. It stayed there for months. The legacy became mine officially. The house in the suburbs outside Minneapolis was transferred to my name. The cabin by the lake, small wooden with a porch overlooking the water, was mine too. The savings account, around $200,000, sat untouched for a while. I didn't rush to spend it. I wanted to feel it first. I started fixing things around the house. The porch steps Grandpa had meant to repair but never got around to. I sanded them down, stained them fresh. The garden beds he used to plant with tomatoes and herbs. I cleared the weeds. Turn the soil planted new seeds in spring. I spent mornings watering, watching the first green shoots push through. In the evenings, I sat on the porch where he used to sit, coffee in hand, listening to the quiet neighborhood sounds. I didn't contact the family. Not once. Dad sent a few messages after the funeral. We should talk about this. Lauren tried calling, once, voice tight. This isn't fair. Aunt Becky emailed a long paragraph about family obligations. Tyler didn't write at all. I didn't reply to any of them. Their words felt distant, like noise from another life. I deleted the threads, blocked the numbers. The silence wasn't angry. It was peaceful. Life settled into a rhythm I chose. I worked from home most days, freelance design jobs that let me stay close to the house. I walked the block every afternoon, same path Grandpa and I used to take. Neighbors waved, asked how I was holding up. I told them the truth, I was okay. Better than okay. One winter morning, snow fell lightly again, the kind that dusts everything without sticking. I bundled up, grabbed the watering can, more habit than necessity, and stepped out to the garden. The beds were covered in white, but I brushed it aside gently, checking for any green still holding on underneath. I poured water around the roots of the rose bush Grandpa had planted years ago. It had survived the cold, stubborn and quiet. As I stood there watching the flakes drift down, I thought about everything that had happened. Family isn't about blood or money or obligation. It's about presence. Showing up when it's hard, when it's inconvenient, when no one else does. Grandpa didn't need grand gestures or expensive gifts. He needed someone who stayed. I gave him that, and he gave me everything in return. I learned something else too. Don't let convenience push people aside. Don't trade time with the ones who matter for parties, jobs, or excuses. People grow old, get weak, need help. And if you're not there when they do, you lose the chance to be part of something real. You lose them, and you lose a piece of yourself. I finished watering the rose bush and looked up at the sky. The snow kept falling soft and steady. The garden was quiet. The house behind me was mine. And for the first time in a long time, I felt completely at peace. If you're listening to this story, take a moment. Think about who's been there for you when no one else was. Think about who you've been there for. And if there's someone waiting for you to show up, don't wait. Go. Because time is the only thing that really matters, and once it's gone, no amount of money or apologies can bring it back. That's the lesson Grandpa Harry left me, and that's the one I'll carry forward.